Are you experiencing pride fatigue, that moment in the month of June, otherwise called LGBTQ Pride Month, when you've seen your 100th rainbow flag hoisted onto your local coffee shop, bank building, library, you name it, and you're forced to explain to the kids it's not actually God's rainbow of eternal hope, it's more like endless propaganda. But there's good news. Major corporations are backing off their sponsorship of this, and we also have big updates to report in the Loudon locker room controversy and a huge win for Christian real estate agents. We're going to tell you about all that and more from the Family Foundation. I'm your host, Candi Cushman. Well, welcome everyone. Glad to have you for Speak Up Virginia. Remember, if you want other people to hear what's going on in your state on the life, family, and freedom issues, share our playlist, Speak Up Virginia, on YouTube. The playlist, you can find it also on our YouTube channel from Family Foundation. Just go to familyfoundation.org. Check out our YouTube channel. So with that said, I want to welcome our special guest today, Dr. Todd Gackey, my colleague and Vice President of Government Relations at the Family Foundation. Victories traveling, so I'm glad you're sitting in the hot seat today.
Thank you for having me, and happy Pride Month to you.
Oh, Todd, You really had to start that way.
I could not resist.
You know, I'm not going to accept those congratulations.
You're just not in the festive mood, are you?
No, there are some things I don't celebrate. And as you were talking about, it is kind of like almost Christmas level for some people. You know?
Yeah. We were talking about how it seems like it's the Christmas season for the LGBT community.
Yeah, or for the activists at least that want to push it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it almost. You know what? I think that's a really good point because it's almost like a religious aspect. Like we got to celebrate this, and we have to.
Yeah, you gotta wear it, and you gotta play the right music, and buy all the gifts and all the things.
Yeah, and I think this has definitely been overplayed in a way that is creating what people have been referring to as pride fatigue. Yeah. You know, and I think I do want to just kind of vent here with our audience that it has been wearying over the last few years. Yeah. You know, every time you go in a store, even just driving down the street, there's pride flags over every building. You go in the store, maybe with kids, you're accosted with just full-on LGBTQ, especially the transgender part of it. Yeah. Displays. I mean, we had the transgender swimsuits that caused so much controversy a while back at Target. Yeah. But major corporations are backing off this. Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, according to reports by Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and others, that there seems to be a lot of corporations that are sort of pulling back their funding for some of these pride events, pride festivals. They're not sponsoring as many things. In fact, right here in Virginia, Virginia's Pride Fest, we found out that they are going to have to postpone the Pride Fest and not have it in June, but have it in September because corporations are just not supporting the event. Yeah. And so now, according to the reports, the future remains uncertain. And I think it just speaks to what you mentioned. It's pride fatigue. It's just been exhausting over and over and over again. Every year you gotta do this. You gotta support this. You go into a store and you have all of the things that are supporting the LGBT activists and the agenda, and it just gets exhausting.
Well, and it's not just a one-off here. Like you said, major outlets, Forbes, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I mean, this is a national phenomenon, so it's quite interesting that corporations are responding to this sense of fatigue. And you know, in your blog, you talked about it's a sign of hope, but also concerning, right?
Yeah. The policy team, we've written a piece, and it, yes, it's hope, but it also shows you just how fallen we've gone, and how far we've, how much we've fallen, and how far we've gone on this. Yeah. And so it's just been the LGBT alphabet soup being pushed on you, and coercing society into going along with this, celebrating, and
like a forced celebration.
Yes, and so there is a sense of relief. It's like, okay, there's a little bit of fatigue. You're starting to see it by corporations. Yeah. I think citizens are exhausted by all of this as well.
Yeah, and you had also mentioned to me in another conversation how you got to the point as a dad where there were stores you stopped going into because you knew, your kids were going to have to deal with this, and And I think that was true for a lot of people. And, I think stores like Target felt that. And especially when it gets into the transgenderism being pushed on little kids and they have the swimsuits out there and everything, there was a backlash to that. And a lot of people, enough for them to fill it in their budget, stopped going to the store. Yeah. And so now they've reversed course. And, but not everyone is happy with this course correction and returning back to common sense. I just want to share with you and the audience this little clip that went viral of this mom. I guess you would call her a left-wing Karen. And she goes in Target and she's upset that instead of all these pride displays, there is actually patriotic displays.
Really?
During June and July. And so she seems just very, shaken by this reality. So let's just watch.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay. It's an American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA, woo! And honestly, my dad served in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. Why not? Yeah, Target's really taken this anti-DEI thing to another level. Happy Pride.
Well, I guess there's still some people that haven't gotten the message that 80% of Americans are tired of corporate-funded brainwashing.
Yeah. Well, apparently this person is really upset that they're going from rainbows to celebrating the red, white, and blue. That's really offensive to her. So she likes to stick with her rainbow colors. But, people are patriotic in this country. People overwhelmingly are patriotic. And this particular individual just doesn't get it. You have Sesame Street that's still out there celebrating. But we've seen some good things. We've seen the president, and he's issued an executive order making sure that the American flag is flown at government buildings. Yeah. No other flags are allowed.
Or at least they're not predominant.
Right? Yeah, they're not predominant. And then you have some places like a city out in Montana that is saying, no, we're gonna push back, and we're actually gonna pass an ordinance that would make the pride flag some type of official flag of the city. So you have some of that going on. But when it gets down right to it, people love their country. They want to be proud of their country, and they like their red, white, and blue.
Yeah, and what's so crazy is why can't we just unify, have unity, have American businesses where everybody can come in and be together on what makes us a country. Yeah. We do not all have to agree on every issue, but we can celebrate the red, white, and blue, and that's a unifying thing. Yeah. But people are wanting to get into this Marxist idea of, no, we have to put these identities, political identities, sexual activist identities, and if you can't fully celebrate it, then you're segmented out. And so to me, it's astounding, just that symbolism. No, I want my LGBTQ pride, and if it's not in here, I can't celebrate red, white, and blue.
Yeah, and I think that this lady overestimates how many people are really in support of promoting all of this. And not giving enough credit to people who actually do recognize the importance of the country and being patriotic, because we just had Memorial Day, and you went up and down my street and you saw American flag after American flag. I didn't see very many pride flags, if any, being flown on that day. It was the red, white, and blue.
I think people are just, even if they aren't necessarily coming from a Christian worldview, they're just tired of the extra push of activism that is dividing Americans, and also I think what you mentioned about this city in Montana, I just want to dwell a little bit on how crazy that is, because I think their state was trying to follow suit with Donald Trump saying executive order, we shouldn't have American outposts like the Marxist or LGBTQ flag or DEI flag as the predominant flag. Right. So the state was trying to follow suit with that, and to get around that, because I think their law said it can't be the official flag has to be flown. Yeah. And so they did. I think they went ahead and did designate LGBTQ flag as their official flag, so they could get around that, which is crazy.
Of all places in Montana, too, this is not something that I can tell you that the people of Montana are really supportive of.
Yeah, this is Missoula City Council, we should say.
Missoula City Council. And I'm willing to bet that the people of that area, that city, are not too happy with that decision. Yeah.
Well, the good news is that your voices have been heard and corporations are responding. So do you feel like you said it's kind of sad to see where we've been or where we got to, but you feel like signs of hope that we can continue restoring common sense?
Yeah, I think we can. And I think that the way that this particular individual was acting in that video is a real reason why there is that pride fatigue. Yeah. I mean, more people that are like that, it's just going to completely push people away from anything having to do with that. So, keep it up to help, kind of push the notion that we support the country and we don't want anything to do with this Pride Month. Let's get away from that and let's support the country.
Go in the store and buy an American flag.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we also have some good news coming out of our legal team. They've been super busy making good progress, and I wanted to bring a couple of key reports from them. They're not in here today because I think they're actually in court.
They are in court,
while we are doing this. Yeah. So they have been generating news that's incredible. And let's just start with what's going on in Loudoun County. I know people that watch this have been following the Loudoun County locker room controversy. And just to give a quick recap, that involves these 3 boys, just 15 years old, who discovered that they had been secretly recorded by a girl identifying as a boy in their locker room. And it's not the girl under fire for breaking, violating school policy saying you can't record in these areas. It's the boys that are being targeted by their own school district and being slapped with a charge of sexual harassment under Title IX. Now, if you're a 15-year-old boy, that's really scary to have a sexual harassment charge following you for the rest of your life. So our legal team is working hard to get these charges dropped against them and to defend their religious freedom rights. Yeah. And there was some big news coming out lately in this. Tell us what's going on.
And let me say, a sexual harassment charge, when they were in the locker room they were supposed to be in, and another person, a female, invaded their locker room, and they're the ones being, it's just so ridiculous, the facts that are involved in all of this. But
and I guess it's an investigation to decide whether they will go forward.
Yeah, to be fair, it's an investigation.
But it's not looking good without our legal team's help.
Yeah, but the fact that term is even being floated is just it's a shame. So we want to give credit to the Family Freedoms Law Center for having brought this case, because that's what has drawn the attention of the Attorney General, Jason Yaris, into this. And he's conducted a very scathing report on Loudoun County Public Schools with respect to this issue, and now has found that this Title IX appears to be being used as a weapon against these students, targeting their religious faith.
Yeah, because he pointed out these 3 boys, the reason they express discomfort is because of their religious background.
That's right.
So there's a Muslim and 2 Christians, and the Attorney General was pretty strong in saying there's evidence here that they're being punished, that religious students are being punished. Yeah, unfairly.
So, again, using the Title IX as a way to go after these young kids and their families to that extent. I think that, what now seems to have happened is that it is now being sent to the federal level. Yeah. And now we're going to have the federal government coming in and doing a whole nother investigation into Loudoun County Public Schools. And so Loudoun County Public Schools, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. I don't mean it in a good way. I mean, they just continue to push the envelope on this issue. And so we want to thank the Attorney General for being really involved in this.
It's just amazing. I think it is important because of the highlight that the spotlight that it's putting on how these radical policies that these schools try to force on kids, the real ramifications, the actual harm. So let's just hear what the Attorney General is saying about this real quick.
This is a great example of, I think, a school district which is, quote unquote, so open-minded that their brain falls out. This would have never been even debatable 15 years ago If I had told you we'd be even having this discussion, you would have thought I was from another planet. That we're actually debating members of the opposite sex being in locker rooms and bathrooms and on sports teams and in sometimes hotel rooms and overnight trips. Yet here we are. This shows you that the Loudoun County School Board is focused on a really radical left-wing view of ideology and sex, and they're shoving it right down on this school district. And right now, these 3 boys, just for voicing common sense, we're now the victim of the full weight possible expulsion just because they voiced their concerns.
No, he is super fired up about that. And I have to say, I do kind of love his comment about that their brains are falling out.
Yeah. You know what? I love the honesty. I love just being just frank about it. And it really is. I mean, the brains falling out. It's a great comment by the Attorney General. And this is serious. I mean, this whole investigation, depending on where it goes, I mean, they're at risk of losing federal funding over this.
Yeah, because there's already another investigation that the Trump administration is doing against Loudoun and 4 other Nova area school districts surrounding all these transgenderism issues that are already in violation of other Trump executive orders.
Right, and I think so. School boards really need to be paying attention to this and taking a look at their policies from around the state that could be similar to Loudoun County's and saying, okay, wait a minute, if something like this were to happen in our school, we could be in the same situation as them, facing the loss of some type of Title IX federal funding. Yeah. So we don't know the extent of how far something like this will go, how far-reaching it will be, but this is very serious for Loudoun County.
Yeah, and that is so important because, when we go to these school board meetings, you hear the ACLU and others trying to use the lawsuit threat, and the school districts often trying to hide behind that. Like well, we can't honor the parents and the students' concerns about their privacy because we might get sued. Well, I think this is going to be very important to highlight the risk you face when you put kids in these vulnerable situations. Yeah. So, Todd, I just want to camp out a little bit more on a really important aspect of this Attorney General investigation, and that is the religious aspect that he really zeroed in on, because he was saying that it seemed like the school initiated a retaliatory investigation, Title IX investigation, that really seemed to be retaliation against the students that had religious beliefs. I want to know what you think is the broader importance of this with what's going on in schools today.
Yeah, well, I mean, this could have a kind of a chilling effect, on some of those students in schools that are very vocal about their faith and wanting to stand up for their faith. And if a school is willing to investigate a student based on the expression of their faith in whatever context it may be, it could have a chilling effect.
Because again, all these boys did was say they were uncomfortable.
That's right, yeah.
And why is there a girl in here I'm uncomfortable?
But I think it's really important that he is identifying this as a particular issue, because if there are policies like this that can have a chilling effect on a student's faith, we want to make sure that we address those policies and correct them. Because we've often said when we've been dealing with all of these model policies on the treatment of transgender students that we need to not only protect the bodily privacy and safety of students, but also protect their fundamental constitutional rights to free speech.
Because if it was your son and he goes in a locker room and there's a girl in there, and then as one of these boys did, goes and tells a school official he's uncomfortable with this, and they say, too bad, you have to deal with it. Yeah. And then he continues to express discomfort. Where is the safety for him, for a Christian student, to be able to express discomfort? I think that's what this gets down to.
Yeah.
So
we get so caught up in trying to create these safety nets for students who are having gender confusion or challenges, but where's the safety net for those who want to live out their faith and live in it and live in obedience to that? So can't be just one-sided.
Yep. Well, to that point, if you want to weigh in and stand by these boys and their families, we have an action center that's easy for you to use. Just go to familyfoundation.org and look for the Protect Our Boys web banner. And there's 2 things you can do. There's a place to email the school board if you live in Loudoun County. But if you don't, there is a petition where other people in the state can sign this petition that we will make sure the school board members get those signatures. So be sure and check that out, familyfoundation.org, Protect Our Boys. Look for the Protect Our Boys banner. All right, well, let's get into our other good news item, because I think this will be really encouraging to people. It really is quite an important precedent for the free speech rights, religious freedoms of Christians in the business world, and particularly in the real estate agent world.
Yes, yeah. So the Law Center, Founding Freedoms Law Center, has been representing a gentleman by the name of Wilson Falber, who was slapped with an ethics charge for posting a faith-based comment, a religious comment on his own private social media account about 10 years ago.
I mean, it was Bible verses.
It was Bible verses.
What he thought about marriage.
Yeah, it was religious themed, comments that he made, what he thought about marriage.
Did you mention he's a pastor or a minister?
I was getting ready to, yeah. And so he's an ordained minister, but he also does real estate work.
Yeah.
And so the ethics charge was brought by the National Association of Realtors in accordance with some hate speech policy that they have. And so they've been trying to help him win this case in the litigation and try.
Yeah, our Founding Freedoms Law Center. Yeah.
And so anyhow, what we learn is just the other day, the National Association of Realtors voted to amend their hate speech to make sure that any speech that's not done within their professional capacity is not going to be used against them in any type.
Go after.
Some type of charge, ethics charge, or anything like that. So this is a tremendous step in the right direction, a great win. And we wouldn't be here if the Founding Freedoms Law Center had not brought this case, if they had not had this relationship with Wilson Falber and brought it to the attention of so many people.
And I think they've just been. Yeah, really. I mean, they're just helping him respond, I think, to these ethics charges. I mean, he didn't, it didn't start with them. They're helping him respond to something, I would say, unfairly being done to him. And, it really is a big deal because this National Association of Realtors. Yeah.
Like 1.5 million members. I mean, this is a big entity.
And they have revised their hate speech policy, like Todd said. So, like quoting scripture on your personal Facebook page. Yeah. That's going to be out of bounds for them to try to use that to bring up for an ethics charge. And we can thank the courage of this realtor and our legal team.
We've seen this in some other instances across the country. But here's a case where because of the Law Center's work and because of them pushing back on this, they were actually able to get this entity, the association, to be able to actually change their policy. And so we'll see what happens going forward. But this is it's a big win for religious liberty.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody who supported what we do, and especially for your support of the Founding Freedoms Law Center, because this is how they make a tangible difference and help millions of other Christians. Yeah. I think this is a huge step forward here. We're already seeing this kind of a victory, and this case is continuing.
Yeah,
so
it is.
keep Wilson Falber in your prayers as we move ahead. But let me just do a real quick plug for our Founding Freedoms Law Center website. So it's foundingfreedomslaw.org. Make sure you check that out. You'll see the banner up there about Wilson Falber. You can learn more about it that we didn't have time to share today. And just read about all the cases going on and how you can support the Founding Freedoms Law Center if you want to do that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I would add to that all of the other work that we do here at the Family Foundation too is connected to what they're doing. So when they're successful in a case, when they're successful in representing someone, then that means that the policy team has something that they could go to the legislature and try and create legislation or go to a school board and either repeal or maybe add a policy that is helpful, that's family friendly. It helps with communications and the grassroots effort. So
is there a law in our future that you could propose protecting
I will say that we have discussions all the time about what they're working on and how we can help them through the legislative and the policymaking process.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, remember, we are stronger when we speak together. So keep sharing the news. Make sure you're sharing the Speak Up Virginia podcast, not only on YouTube, but if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can help get the word out by giving us that 5-star review. If you like what we're hearing, it helps escalate that show. It helps elevate the show to help more people see it and be able to listen in. Remember to check us out next week
We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.